During the Cold War era, a specific fishing method was
Drill
engineered
steady
in Siberia
through the ice.
that Soviet researchers
The sensory
kept
system of the
strictly
largemouth bass.
confidential
The
for
lateral
many
line detects
decades.
vibration.
This
Good catch
information was
today.
never shared with Western nations,
Time to
nor
head out.
was it ever featured in any scientific publications. It remained hidden behind the Iron Curtain until a defector finally brought the knowledge to the United States in the early 1990s.
Beautiful evening for fish.
Even after its arrival, the technique was immediately suppressed because the revelations it contained made the professional fishing industry appear completely incompetent. This particular method is effective in any water temperature, regardless of the weather conditions or the specific time of year. It successfully catches fish even when every other tactic fails. Furthermore, it relies on a primary ingredient that can be purchased for less than $2 at any local grocery store across the country. I am going to explain exactly what this technique is, the reasons why it functions so well, and the way you can implement it yourself. However, before we proceed, I want to provide evidence that this is not merely a theoretical concept. This is a tested, documented system that is impossible to argue against. Last spring, I conducted an experiment by setting up two identical fishing rigs on the same body of water. I used the exact same rods, the same reels, the same hooks, and positioned them at the same depth and distance from the shoreline. The only variable in this test was the bait being used. On the left-hand rod, I utilized an expensive, store-bought catfish bait that cost $14 for a small 8-ounce jar. On the right-hand rod, I applied the Soviet method using ingredients that cost a total of only $1.50. I placed both rods in the water at 7 hours in the morning and monitored them every 30 minutes until 6 hours in the evening, recording every detail in a notebook. The high-priced commercial bait caught only 3 fish over the span of 11 hours, all of which were channel catfish weighing under 2 pounds. In contrast, the Soviet method bait caught 22 fish during that same 11-hour window. The haul included channel catfish, largemouth bass, bluegill, and 2 very large carp that weighed over 8 pounds each. Despite the same water and weather, the only difference was the bait formula. The data is clear. One method was 7 times more effective than the other, despite costing nearly 10 times less to produce. The story becomes even more fascinating when considering an old tournament fisherman from Tennessee who heard about my results. He revealed that he had been utilizing a very similar method for more than 30 years. He originally learned the technique from a Ukrainian immigrant who was working at a meat processing facility outside of Nashville during the 1980s. That immigrant explained that this was standard practice within the Soviet Union for anglers who could not afford expensive Western fishing tackle. The formula was actually developed in research laboratories that were studying fish behavior in the freezing rivers and lakes of Siberia. Those scientists discovered something that Western researchers either failed to find or chose never to publish. They found that fish react to a very specific combination of chemical compounds in a way that completely overrides their natural sense of caution. It effectively triggers a feeding frenzy that does not cease until the source of the food is entirely consumed. The Soviet method requires only 3 basic ingredients: rye bread, a raw egg, and sardines. That is the entire list. There are no expensive additives or synthetic attractants involved, just 3 items you can buy with pocket change. The fisherman from Tennessee showed me his personal records spanning 25 years, where he tracked his catches using this Soviet bait versus traditional baits. Over that quarter-century, the Soviet method averaged 68% more fish per outing. During the winter months, when most fishermen struggled to get a bite, his advantage increased to over 300%. He kept this information strictly within his immediate family because he knew tournament competitors would have accused him of cheating if they discovered what he was using. He remained quiet, won prize money, and provided for his family with his catches year after year. Now, I will show you exactly how to prepare this bait and why it is so devastatingly effective in any environment. To begin, take 2 slices of dark rye bread. It is critical that you use rye. White bread or whole wheat will not work for this. Rye contains specific enzymes that become active once they hit the water. Tear the bread into small fragments and place them into a mixing bowl. Next, crack 1 raw egg directly onto the bread pieces. You must use the entire egg, including the yolk, because the yolk contains the concentrated fats and proteins necessary to create an attraction cloud. After that, add 1 full can of sardines packed in oil. Do not drain the oil away. You need every bit of the liquid in that can. Use a fork to mash all the ingredients together until they form a thick paste. The consistency should resemble wet clay. It should hold its shape without being too dry. If the mixture is too runny, add more rye bread. If it is too crumbly, add a tiny splash of water. Once you can form a firm ball the size of a golf ball, it is ready. This mixture stays fresh for 1 day if kept cool, so make it the morning you plan to fish. Do not prepare it the night before, as fermentation will alter the chemical profile and reduce its power. There is a critical application technique that the Soviets perfected through years of field testing. When you arrive at your fishing location, take 4 balls of the mixture, each about the size of a walnut. Throw them out so they are spread across a 15-foot area where you intend to fish. Do not cluster them in one spot. You want to create a scent zone that covers a broad area. These bait balls will slowly disintegrate in the water, releasing an expanding cloud of compounds. Within about 10 minutes, you will notice a slight change on the water's surface, a faint oily shimmer. That is the sardine oil spreading out. Beneath the surface, amino acids and fatty acids are dispersing in every direction. Fish can detect these compounds from incredible distances and will move toward the source immediately. This is not a choice for them. It is a biological response programmed by evolution. Now, place a fresh ball of bait on your hook, pushing the hook through so the point is hidden inside. Cast it into the center of your scent zone and let it sink naturally. Avoid using weights unless there is a very strong current, as the bait needs to descend slowly to release particles that create a visible trail for the fish to follow. When the bait reaches the bottom, it continues to pump out scent for hours, so you do not need to check it constantly. The science behind this explains why Western manufacturers never created anything comparable. Rye bread contains maltose and complex sugars that fish detect through taste receptors. When wet, rye enzymes break down starches to create fermentation compounds that mimic natural food decay. Fish see this as a signal for easy calories. The raw egg provides 2 components. The white creates a long-lasting amino acid trail, while the yolk releases a dense lipid signature. Together, they hit multiple sensory receptors in the fish's olfactory system simultaneously. The sardines act as the ultimate trigger. They contain high levels of omega-3 fatty acids and trimethylamine oxide, which create the chemical signature of an injured bait fish. Every predatory species is hardwired to respond to this scent. The real breakthrough the Soviets found was the synergistic effect. The rye fermentation enhances the dispersion of the egg's amino acids. The egg fats amplify the sardine scent, and the oils carry the sugars further. It creates a 3-way chemical amplification detectable from over 200 yards away. The Soviets tested this against every available bait for 5 years, and the results were so lopsided they initially thought their equipment was broken. They repeated the tests across different water bodies and species with the same outcome. They had found the most effective bait ever made, but kept it secret as a matter of national policy. When the defector tried to publish this in 1991, major magazines and manufacturers rejected it. The industry saw the formula as a threat to their profits. If people could make better bait at home for pennies, they would stop buying expensive commercial products. Thus, the method was buried by corporate interests. This bait works aggressively on channel catfish, even during the heat of the day. Largemouth bass will strike it because the amino acid cloud triggers their feeding reflex. Carp become almost tame, feeding in the same spot for hours due to the rye fermentation. Even panfish like bluegill and crappie will swarm the area within minutes. It even works on trout in cold streams because the omega-3 concentration mimics their natural prey. This is a universal attraction for anything that swims in fresh water. The Tennessee fishermen used it in ponds, rivers, and lakes with consistent success. To maximize results, you can add a teaspoon of minced garlic for an extra scent layer. In water below 40 degrees, use a can and a half of sardines to compensate for slower scent dispersion. If targeting trophy catfish, add 2 tablespoons of chicken blood to create a scent bomb. When fishing in currents, cast larger balls upstream to create a trail that extends for hundreds of yards. Timing is also important. Early morning and late evening are the most productive times. Avoid the bright midday sun in summer, but overcast days are excellent. The Soviets also documented that the 3 days before and after a new moon produce the highest catch rates because fish rely more on smell when visibility is low. For 30 years, this proven method has been hidden to keep you dependent on expensive products. The industry didn't want you to know that the best bait costs less than $2. This should make you question what else they are hiding. All the suppressed techniques and old-timer secrets are available in the resource linked in the description. If this revelation about the Soviet fishing secret has changed the way you look at the gear in your tackle box, subscribe to our channel and like this video. We are uncovering the history and techniques they tried to bury. Cast your line into the future of angling. The next great secret will be unhooked soon.